Elliot Spitzer was going to get prosecuted under the Mann Act. And that says it all. You know the Mann Act? The Mann Act? The Mann Act. The Mann Act is the law that says it's illegal to take a girl across state lines for purposes of debauchery. The Mann Act was written to get one man, and that man was Jack motherfucking Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion of the world. He used to beat the out of white men and leave the arena with white women in the 20s. It was amazing. He the whole matrix up. When Jack Johnson won the world championship, he chased the white champion. Back then, white champions would be like, I don't fight black people. It's beneath me. But really, they were scared to death. Jack Johnson was huge. And you seen them old tapes in them boxes. Them Jack Johnson moved like a modern person. You know, if I had a time machine, I could be the heavyweight champion in the world. And then he would leave the arena, and he would openly have sex with white women all the time. Now, you think he would get persecuted for that, but they never touched him. Because the heavyweight champion in the world is the most prestigious title in sports. Period. The headline of the paper say, Jack Johnson is it. They chased this down. They made the Mann Act. He had to flee the country. He was living in exile, couldn't fight anymore. When Muhammad Ali saw Jack Johnson's story on Broadway, he said, that is my story. If you change white women to Islam, he said, that is my story, right? Jack Johnson just got pardoned in 2005. Do you know who sponsored that bill? John McCain.
Comedian Dave Chappelle spoke on this in 2009, and it's a story many should know.
When black Americans were expected to defer to whites, Jack Johnson battered them to the ground. And at a time when the mere suspicion that a black man had flirted with a white woman could cost him his life, Jack Johnson slept with whomever he pleased. To most whites, and to some African Americans, Johnson was a perpetual threat, profligate, arrogant, amoral, a dark menace, and a danger to the natural order of things.
Let's also be clear, from the greatest, Muhammad Ali's own mouth, when speaking of Jack Johnson, he said this.
Jack Johnson was a black man back when white people lynched Negroes on weekends, every weekend. Back in 1909, they would send him letters saying, you fighting a white man, and if you knock him out, we'll kill you. He said, just kill my black buggers, I'm gonna knock this white man cold. And he would knock the white man out, and the Ku Klux Klan would be burning them. They killed Negroes all over the country. When Jack Johnson wanted to fight, they had riots all over South America. It was so serious, and Jack Johnson, he's bad. He had to be a bad, bad black man. Wasn't no black Muslims to defend him. Wasn't no NAACP in 1909. Wasn't no Rap Brown. Wasn't no MOVE. All these black groups. Wasn't no Angela Davis, no Hill Newton, no Malcolm X. He was by himself. Jack Johnson, he was one black man in the midst of all them rednecks would kill lynch Negroes every day. He would dress up in pretty suits. Negroes are allowed to dress up in days. He put on pretty white neckties and pretty white, and had white women. You know that. He married white women. You would get lynched for looking at a white woman in them days. That man married white women and walked around, took pictures with his white women. Married two of them, and they running out of the country because of white woman. He left the whole country and fought out of Cuba. He was bad. I know I'm bad, but he was crazy.
Jack Johnson was that dude. Let's be clear, all right? First, as Chappelle alluded to, white boxers refused to fight black boxers for the heavyweight championship. It was practically an unwritten rule in the sport, and this practice was dubbed the color line. Thus, Johnson competed against black fighters, and only black fighters, being crowned what was called at the time world colored champion. He defended the title 17 times. That was until Tommy Burns accepted the challenge, and he was dog-walked in a bout that went 14 rounds, only to be stopped because of the beating he took. According to Teresa Runstedler, a scholar of African American history at American University, the Burns defeat would disrupt the narrative of white supremacy, and the white media despised seeing this. Writer Jack London called for a great white hope, naming former champion Jim Jeffries to reemerge from his alfalfa farm and remove that golden smile from Jack Johnson's face. Jeff, it's up to you. The white man must be rescued. Jeffries had been out of boxing for some time at that point, 4 years, as a matter of fact, and many pleaded for his return. Okay, he trained a lot. He was offered a lot of money, and thus he took it, and he would compete against Jack Johnson.
Jim Jeffries'
report, and it would be printed in almost every newspaper across the country, of race riots, when really that's not entirely accurate when you consider that the press was dominated by racist white folks, not only at the, writing positions, but also the editing positions and what have you. Realistically, it was white mobs that went out and attacked black communities, where 15 plus people were killed because of these attacks. And it's all because Jack Johnson showed that, white supremacy is not really a thing that should be believed in after he won, and he kept winning over and over and over again. But the white mobs were pissed, and what they wanted to show, once again, was dominance over their black neighbors. The fallout would only continue via CNN. The bout was one of the first fights ever to be filmed, meaning that there was a celluloid record for all to watch. However, just days after the fight, many states and cities banned showings of the Johnson-Jeffries film. Thus, if they couldn't get him in the ring, they had to discover different avenues. His romantic involvements with white women, his defiance of societal norms, and his unapologetic demeanor all challenged deeply rooted racial prejudices and ignited intense racial animosity, wrote the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Johnson's relationships with white women, including one with Belle Schreiber, a known prostitute who had accompanied him on a journey from Pittsburgh to Chicago, sparked considerable controversy. They conclude, in 1912, he faced arrest for violating the Mann Act, also known as the White Slave Traffic Act, which was a law aimed at combating sex trafficking. The charge was dubious. Authorities disapproved of an African-American man holding the heavyweight title, a symbol that represented masculinity at the time. Furthermore, his athletic prowess, dominance over white fights, refusal to abide by Jim Crow etiquette, and relationships with white women all caught up with him. Nevertheless, Johnson stood before an all-white jury who found him guilty and sentenced him to 1 year and 1 day in prison. However, rather than accepting his conviction, Johnson fled the country and sought refuge in Europe, South America, and Mexico. Ultimately, in 1920, he voluntarily surrendered to U.S. officials, and he would be incarcerated in Leavenworth Federal Prison. Sadly, Jack Johnson's life came to a tragic close in 1946 when he died in a car crash caused by reckless driving. On the Mann Act, by the way, Yahoo would print, it had never been used as it was against Jack Johnson to go after an individual engaged in consensual and private romantic relationships, even ones that crisscrossed the country, as various white women had while traveling in Johnson's entourage. To put a bow on this, what Dave Chappelle said was obviously comedic in his approach, but also spot on. And the legacy of Jack Johnson, even if Donald Trump wants to put down and dismantle African American history, which is American history, by the way, and the Smithsonian, he won't. And let's hope videos like this live forever. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.